Chance Shaw is a one-dimensional arm wrestler. He just goes sideways with the top roll, relying on his side pressure. If he loses his hand, it's over for him. Do you really think that the guy who stopped Levan at the center is unable to stop a guy nearly half Levan's size? Devon Larratt's riser is solid. He can easily climb high on Shaw's hand. They had half an hour of debate during the setup. It's the usual routine of Devon. As he got as high as possible, Chance Shaw's hand got compromised from the center, and he couldn't even be able to apply side pressure. It's just a matter of time until Chance Shaw gave up. Even this lesser version of Devon can do wonders on the table. He lost fat during his cut, and he really is still preserving his strength. Devon can stop everyone. Those stops are interesting. For example, Georgie versus Devon. Georgie was much stronger than Devon, but Devon found the point where the forces resisted and managed to tire him out and win. That's why he talks about his belt lift as an icebreaker. But all this, it's going to go to hell if the other is simply stronger, like for example Levan versus Devon. Your ability to take an opponent's cup in a flat wrist position is definitely not 90 to 10% between back pressure and pronation. More likely 70 to 30%. Arms has the strongest back pressure, took Devon's riser, and still couldn't compromise his cup. Georgie's back pressure is 30% weaker, and he was able to compromise Devon's cup. There shouldn't be such contradictory examples between such massive back pressure gap if pronation only accounted for 10%. It's just Terzi trying to help out Chance to promote himself. He is doing a lot to organize an event, and this is payback. Same like Coach Ray getting a match despite, for example, his buddy teammate that just demolished Artem from the same weight category and deserves to be called back. But those matches will not have the same emotions for me like those of Devon versus Levan, Erms or Gainati. The only good part about this match is that Devon will retire Chance from the East versus West stage for good. I can think of 100 top-tier arm wrestlers who deserve a match against Devon more so than Chance Shaw. I understand that this is for increasing the pay-per-view sales, and I absolutely think it can work even though this is pretty last minute. But it's a little weird that they try to sell this as an actual match. Devon might be taking a break right now, but he is still number 2 in the world as per his last match results. Even in his worst possible shape and at a lower weight, he should annihilate Chance. There is no world where this is even remotely competitive. Also really gutted for other pullers that try to get a match with Devon and can't manage despite deserving it so much more than Chance. Grundy literally won the Challenger Series and has since then quit the sport because he couldn't get matches. Yes, Devon was not able to hold Chance at practice pull, but there is a big difference in holding someone and actually trying to win. Not to mention Devon came off of a 5-day fast. This has been set up for months. These guys know who they're pulling way before the public does. All publicity to get some theatrics behind it. Perfect little comeback match for Devon to play with while still being involved in the card. With Gainati, Devon's pronation didn't really matter unless Gainati was trying to hook conventionally or top roll. However, Devon never purely top rolled Gainati because of Gainati's ability to flop press. In round 1, before the second go, Devon was in an advantageous position, which was a combination of securing pronation as well as cup. With Dinas, Devon's pronation allowed him to bust Dinas' wrist and slowly fatigue Dinas, but ultimately he had to come forward and then roll out. Pronation was just one part of the puzzle. With Prudnik, Evans' pronation did help him bust Prudnik's wrist, and that round 1 king's move was the main factor in gassing Prudnik out. Devon was going to win eventually, but that king's move helped him win 3-0. Also, he hooked a lot in that match, whether it was to prove a point or it was actually easier for him that way. About Devon's side pressure, Devon claims he is pretty much completely healthy after his stem cells. I don't see why he couldn't train side pressure more. He just doesn't value it much, maybe. Almost all the other elites train bench press and side pressure directly, and nothing is stopping Devon from doing that. Devon's weakness is a flop press, like with Levan. It was the key piece of the puzzle. He literally used his pronation at all times to reach the press. For a king move, you need pronation, and I see his hook as a way to tire them out. He gets to a safe position where he knows he is not going to lose and encourages them to fight, losing energy for the next rounds and him in a position won from press to through its hook. The true expression of the riser involves some pronation through the top knuckle. This is what failed on Devon and left his hand completely underneath Levan. He still managed to get a soft stop, but the anchor to his king's move was busted. This actually failed against Dave in 2019 as well, but due to style, Devon was able to gut out the ugly win. This is the real reason succeeded in creating hard stops against Levan. His back pressure is insane, but it wouldn't have meant anything if he couldn't maintain pressure through his knuckles despite having his wrist dumped by Levan's fingers. Devon does attack the hand better, especially in the straps. I don't know if the riser gains Devon made will be enough, but that is what he needs more of than anything to stop Levan. Due to the big size of Devon's hand, it forces his pronation to compensate for the larger distance between the rotation center and the point of force application, in other words, torque. The larger the hand becomes, the more torque it puts on the pronation muscles and the ulnar ligament. Try to belt pronate 5 kilos, it's easy. Now try to belt pronate the same weight with a towel between your thumb and the belt. The weight becomes more challenging, considering the towel is part of your hand and adds to the size of it. So having a bigger hand is advantageous for you, of course, but it slightly gives you less room to pronate, but it's unsensible. It's only obvious on the micro level. The advantages outweigh the disadvantages. Every time I see someone grips Devon, he forces his opponents to grip him low due to his strong rising ability. This considerable amount of torque on his wrist has conditioned his ulnar ligament and gave it the possibility of stretching beyond its limit. Sometimes his wrist gets supinated slightly, but his arm stays intact, and yes, wrist spinning is possible without the rotation of the entire arm. As long as his riser is active, pronating won't be an issue. Riser is the weakest link in the chain. When it survives, the rest of the chain will survive too. Riser forces the opponent to make the match about hand and wrist, where Devon is nearly unbeatable. And second thing is that riser has no counter. Devon calls it the concept of not holding on. Even though Devon is all about height and griping high, he still grips normal grip, slightly low. This grip requires more pronation, because the pronation, the part that is transmitted through the index and middle fingers, is attacking a thicker portion of the opponent's hand. So he normally uses this type of grip for riser stabilization rather than pronation. As long as the riser is sound, the pronation will be untouched because the riser protects it.